2009 was a weird year for Christian Bale because it's 1 year removed from The Dark Knight, the iconic Bruce Wayne character and one of the better Batman movies. And then he slowly transitioned into another iconic role of John Connor for Terminator Salvation, where he is literally in the stage of his career where he's just yelling all his lines really loudly in a weird accent as well. So,
if we stay the course, we are dead! We are all dead!
We're going to dive into Terminator Salvation. I wanted to do a rewatch of this movie specifically because we're doing our 2009 Movie Awards this summer, and I wanted to revisit this movie that I went to theater and saw way back in 2009. And while it's not like a perfect movie by any means, there is some fun to be had, but there's also some like major glaring issues I do have with the Terminator franchise that is kind of comes out, but it's not like the most painful Terminator watch that I've ever had. So I'm really looking forward to discussing my thoughts and takes on Terminator Salvation. All grown up in the post-apocalyptic 2018, John Connor must lead the resistance of humans against an increasingly dominant militaristic robots. But when Marcus Wright appears, his existence confuses the mission as Connor tries to determine whether Wright has come from the future or the past, and whether he's friend or foe. Terminator Salvation is directed by Mick G and has a really kind of underrated and underappreciated cast here, because like I said, we do get Christian Bale as John Connor, but we also get Marcus Wright, our other lead, played by Sam Worthington, who was having a pretty damn good 2009 because he had Avatar later on that year as well, and he was a big lead for that film. But that's not the only two actors that are notable or worth talking about in this movie. We also get introduced to this character that Sam Worthington knows from the very beginning of the movie, who plays more of a significant role near the back half of the movie, and she is played by Helen Bonham Carter, which is interesting to see her pop up. We also see Anton Yelchin pop up here, and it was just reminded me that we lost this actor way too soon. I was always a fan of Yelchin's work, and he had a good 2009 with Star Trek also being another big entry in his filmography. He plays Kyle Reese, the father of John Connor, who we saw that kind of stuff happen in the original Terminator way back in 1984, and he previously played by Michael Biehn. We also going to see actors like Common pop up, Bryce Dallas Howard, Moon Bloodgood, and Michael Ironside, just to name a few more. This cast was pretty underrated and it had some really good people in front of the camera. But we also have to remember with the Terminator Salvation movie, it's not just another entry in the Terminator franchise, it's also another introduction of Christian Bale doing some stuff off camera that's not too pleasant. There was, he's yelling a lot of crazy things on camera, but he's also yelling at people and staffers off camera, and there was that infamous clip that did come out while the making of this movie was going on, where him just yelling at people off camera. And so that wasn't a really good look with Christian Bale, and I do remember a lot of those clips being leaked here.
Kick your fucking ass! I want you off the fucking set, you prick!
I'm sorry.
No, don't just be sorry. Think for 1 fucking second. The fuck are you doing? Are you professional or not?
Yes, I am.
Do I fucking walk around and rip that? No, shut the fuck up, Bruce.
I remember what's going on with that movie, and I was like, what's Christian Bale doing? I don't get it. But it was not like the first actor who's ever done it, but I was like, man, this is a pretty high profile actor to be doing something stupid like that. And it was an actor that I really actually enjoy because of the movies like we mentioned before, Dark Knight. And also, I knew The Dark Knight Rises was right around the going to be made at some point. But anyway, let's dive into this movie here. I think the interesting parts here is I think Christian Bale is not necessarily a bad casted John Connor, and I think he actually does a really good job. I wanted him to do more, I think, because they do start focusing on Marcus Wright quite a bit here, and it's pretty much his movie with John Connor just as the extra filler type of stuff. And Marcus Wright is the most generic kind of like person's name you could ever pick. If you were doing like some like Chat GPT names in a hat type of thing, you would probably come up with Marcus Wright. It's a pretty it's pretty Sam Worthington name actually. I think that's probably the best thing to take away. And then, again, Sam Worthington going to Avatar. He is a fine actor. I don't think he's necessarily great in this one, but he is kind of a good, worthy adversary to Christian Bale's John Connor. Even though they don't share a whole lot of screen time, they really don't actually meet until like the back half of the movie. There's at least an hour in before they even meet each other, and when it happens, they immediately get separated again. It happens quite frequently. and they don't get like reunited or have any screen time together until like the third act. There's several different plots going on here. You get John Connor trying to figure out this crazy resistance stuff with and kind of battling a power where he's kind of getting weeded out. Where he's like, no, you need to stay back here. And they also get like this intel that there's a hit list and everybody in the room, all the big higher ups of the resistance are on this hit list along with John Connor and this unknown character of Kyle Reese. And when you introduced to that name, you're like, oh, cool, that's awesome. And of course, the movie takes us exactly who Kyle Reese is, and that's Anton Yelchin. The Anton Yelchin stuff is actually really fun because of being him and Kyle Reese. And we get to see the cool stuff that Kyle Reese taught Linda Hamilton's Sarah Connor character in the first Terminator. We get to see where he picked that stuff up. And come to find out, it's Marcus Wright. It's always been Marcus Wright teaching Anton Yelchin slash Kyle Reese all these interesting stuff with how to hold a gun and everything. And having Anton Yelchin say, "Come with me if you want to live," the most iconic Terminator line. It's not Arnold saying it. It's not as cool coming from him, but it's also cool because it's the line that we love from Terminator. So that was kind of funny. A lot of the other actors like Common and Bryce Dallas Howard and stuff like that, they don't get really fleshed out all too well. But we really get a focus on, we get a little bit of John Connor. We don't get a whole lot of like his stuff, but we do get to see we hear Linda Hamilton's voice when he's listening to his mother's tapes. I did see her recording those tapes at the end of Terminator, the first Terminator, and so that's kind of interesting to get a good callback to Linda Hamilton, and she's probably my favorite part of this entire franchise. And we see her pop up in several different movies at this point with the first two Terminators. We see her in Dark Fate as well. But Christian Bale, listening to those tapes was just a really good reminder of Linda Hamilton being a total badass of a female character, and not just a female character, as a movie character in general. I should probably preface that she's one of my top 10 movie characters, probably up there. She's a fantastic, just a badass person. Anyway, the movie again does have a lot of big set pieces and a lot of crazy robots like that come out. There's this motorcycle robot. There's this giant human gathering robot that pops up with Marcus Wright and the Kyle Reese stuff. That how did they not hear that? It doesn't make any sense logistically or how do robots sneak around or Terminators sneak around? Now stuff doesn't make sense with this, but the set piece, the big action piece is fun to watch. And yes, there's some really fun action stuff, but this is a movie that you have to turn your brain off, because if you start picking it apart, you're going to be kind of frustrated with it. And that's the thing for me, is that the Terminator franchise works really well when they're not in present day. If it's in present day with all this after Judgment Day stuff, when they're the world's has come to an end, and now we're focusing on what surviving and attacking this world full of robots and Terminators. That stuff is not as interesting to me. I love when they go back in time and can go back and try to kill younger versions of themselves. Like the first two Terminators were fantastic. We went back, had Terminator go back in time. Even Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines, while cheesy and kind of PG-13, it's still an entertaining watch. I'd rather watch that one over Salvation any day of the week. Salvation still has some really probably better set pieces than the Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines film does. But then we get into Genesis, which does go back in time, but it becomes so convoluted in the storytelling, and it becomes more of a frustrating watch. And it's not an interesting film, and it's just really it's what pretty much what Hollywood would think a Terminator movie should be if they hadn't seen the other Terminators. It's exactly what they would do, the big blockbuster film, and that's not what Terminator should be. It should be kind of more self-contained, and that's why I feel like the first Terminator movie is more of a horror. Should be in the horror genre. It's a guy tracking down somebody. It's like a Halloween type of thing. You have the big bad guy tracking down, trying to kill somebody, and that's exactly what kind of the first Terminator is. So while this movie is not nearly on par as the first two Terminators, it's not necessarily on the bottom of the franchise either. I would consider that being Terminator Genesis. It's still a watchable film that has some interesting set pieces that are kind of extravagant and perfect in the sci-fi genre. But again, it is kind of a bland interpretation. It all seems one, even the color durations, either dark or kind of really bright desert stuff. Fun, entertaining kind of ensemble piece to go back. It's like, oh, that actor was in there. Cool to see Anton Yelchin, Christian Bale yelling everything at everyone is kind of entertaining as well. Overall, I'm like 2.5 stars. It's a very interesting, fun film, but I remembered it being better. The one thing I haven't mentioned yet is Arnold Schwarzenegger shows up kinda in completely CGI. It really is not good so many years later. I remember it not being good 2009. So, yeah, Arnold. Darn it for you, bud. But anyway, that is my quick thoughts, takes, and opinions on Terminator Salvation. What did you guys think about the movie? Let me know in the comment section down below. So, as always, we'll see you in the next one.